Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia. Listen up. WynnBET is now live in all these states, and the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas has finally landed in online sports betting and casino play. From boosted parlays to live in-game offs on every major sport, WynnBET gives you the tools to win. Sign up today for your risk-free $1,000 sports bet. Download the WynnBET app now or visit wynnbet.com to start winning.
You're listening to Building the Broncos with Nick Kendell and Carl Dumler, Broncos country's leading draft and scouting analysts. Get on over to milehighhuddle.com to sound off on all things Broncos.
Made it just in time. Traffic was terrible on the 5. I sound like such a Californian, the 5. But up here in Washington, it runs the whole Pacific coast, right? But welcome in, guys. It is Tuesday evening, and that means it's time for another episode of Building the Broncos. And I'm Nick Kendell, joined by, as always, Carl Dumler over here. Yeah. How you doing, Carl?
I'm good, man. I'm doing real good. Got an early start today and got a workout in, got a second workout in. So I've just, I realize now why people who are single can actually get into shape, because you got time on your hands, so then you can go to the gym, and nothing against those who do that. But when
sounds like a shot.
Yeah, I know. But I know when I get my 3 kids home, maybe these 2-a-day workouts is probably not going to happen. So got to take advantage while I can. And yeah, it's always good to get to come in here, talk some Broncos, let off some steam of maybe not a great weekend for everybody, but hey, we're here to have a good time, guys. And I hope you guys are here for that too. I know everybody's a little fired up, but I think we can still have a good time here today.
Have a good time. Wins, loss, right? It's football. This is an outlet. And if you're not having fun doing it, then what are we doing here? Max Powers with the 2 pounds coming in saying thoughts on Doug Peterson for the next head coach. Obviously, you guys know Doug Peterson worked under Andy Reid for a while, was a high school coach then for a bit in Louisiana. I don't remember exactly how he jumped up from Louisiana high school football to the Eagles, but the former head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, a very much a cantankerous situation there. I love that word, cantankerous, in Philly. And between him, Howie Roseman, and Carson Wentz, who knows exactly what went down there. But Peterson's been a pretty good coach, a Super Bowl winning head coach, an offensive mind as well that has had one. I think probably the best testament to him is that he had 2 completely different offenses for what Nick Foles does and did well, and what Carson Wentz does and did well. So thoughts on Doug Peterson, Carl?
Well, I questioned a little bit once Frank Reich left for the Colts, how much, like, you saw the offense kind of start to nosedive after that. Now, some of that I do think was injuries. I mean, they lost most of their offensive line after that, and they've had worse luck with their offensive line than probably any other team when it comes to injuries. Carson Wentz was banged up, in and out of the lineup, but Wentz never looked the same. And now that he's with the Colts, he's kind of had a little bit of a bounce back. So I just question a little bit of what Doug Peterson brings to the table. But like I said, it's just tough to know who was at fault. When chaos happens like that and you see a team go from Super Bowl champ to like blowing the whole thing up within a couple years, I don't know. I would be a little nervous to go that direction with him.
Yeah, I mean, to his credit and to your last point, how often is that not the case unless you have a Hall of Fame, quarterback, right? Like, it's getting blown up from the Broncos. You could say the same thing. Peyton Manning rides off the Sunday. He wasn't very good, but 2015, we fell off the wagon quick as far as becoming pretty good. So Peterson, I think there's a little bit of stability and offensive innovation there. I agree with you, though. I mean, I don't know who was on the boat, this boat first. We can share it. But we were both big Frank Reich fans, loved Frank Reich, and was hoping that maybe he'd be somebody in the Broncos, that coaching search. They ended up going with Vance Joseph. But here we are. So I think I have my years right there. Either way. If they brought in Doug Peterson, that'd be fine. My question to the questioner there, who was scrolling up here, Max Power, of course, thank you so much for the 2 pounds. Why would Doug Peterson pick Denver? Because Doug Peterson's the only guy on the market that has a ring. And I think he's going to have his choice of where he wants to go. Why would he pick Denver over these other situations that might have better quarterback options and also wouldn't be in a division where you have 3 franchise quarterbacks?
Right. Now, I will say a guy, I didn't realize this, Todd Bowles has 3 Super Bowl rings. One as a player, one as an executive, and one as a coach.
You don't have to convince me on Todd Bowles, man. You know I'm a big Todd Bowles fan.
It's true. But I'm just saying, like, he's done it at all the different levels there and understands both players and what it takes as a coach. That's probably the guy that's at the top of my list right now. Yeah. Again, like you said, what's the attraction to the Broncos right now? There's just not a lot there. I mean, there's some young talent.
Capital, cap space, young talent.
Yeah. And it does sound like a lot of people like George Payton. He is well respected around the league. And so I do think some coaches would like to work with him. But I agree. We'll see. And that kind of brings us to Michaela's question. Thank you for the 1999 super chat here, Michaela. And like I said, I know everybody is frustrated because that was embarrassing this last weekend. But she says, hi, fellas. Just wanted to support #FireFangio with the thumbs up.
Listen up, Broncos country. TickPick should be your first choice to buy football tickets because they save fans money by never charging any service fees ever. TickPick is the exclusive ticketing partner for the Huddle Up podcast and the Blue Wire Network.
Denver Broncos football is finally back, and there's no need to exhaust yourself searching all over the internet to find Broncos tickets anymore. Because TickPick, that's TickPick, is the original no-fee ticket site and the only one you'll ever need as your go-to for all NFL tickets. TickPick got rid of all those awful service fees that the other ticket sites charge, which lets them guarantee the best prices on all of their NFL tickets. Don't believe it? If you can find better prices for the same seats on another ticket site, TickPick will give you 110% of the difference in the purchase price.
That's right, guys. When we were searching for tickets for the MHH meet and greet for week 3 at home, Broncos versus Jets, TickPick had us locked down. So visit tickpick.com/huddle today and use the promo code HUDDLE to save $10 on your first order of Broncos tickets.
The odds of him keeping his job right now are about slim to none. Like, I even question if they make the playoffs, whether he would keep his job, just because there's a lot of division in the locker room. You got a lot of superstars that have called him out that we know behind the scenes. They've had some cussing matches between coaches and players, and just seems like there's a huge divide that's going on there. And so, like I said, I even question if they make the playoffs, whether he'd have a job.
Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, there's 7 games to go this season. A lot can happen. And I think that, not to get too data nerdy just right out of the gate, but this season has been such a high variance season that we need to be looking at the trend lines, I think. So Broncos, obviously not as good as they were versus the Cowboys. I don't think they're as bad as they were versus the Eagles. Right there in the middle. And hopefully over the season, that's showing the Broncos to be right now what they are, a 5-5 team. You know, maybe they luck one out. Maybe they come back and beat the Steelers or beat the Browns. Maybe they drop that one versus Washington football team. I don't know, but they're probably right what their record is, right? That's right where they are. And with 7 games to go, I would say greatly much so that the offensive line and the run game is starting to come together. It's the quarterback is who he is. I mean, he's probably played right about expectations, if not slightly above, for anybody who has realistic expectations for what Teddy is. Not a franchise quarterback, but a 12th to 22nd quarterback in the league. That's right where he is. But I think this is it really comes down to the defense. Defense has got to be better. They're bottom 10 in DVOA. Hey, the new DVOA rankings came out today. Broncos ranked 24th in the entire NFL defensively. Jeez. Not good enough. Not good enough. Travis Tarbuck's coming in here saying, evening, fellas. I caught Broncos for breakfast earlier. That's my guy. These shows are great. Denver Broncos for life. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Also, Travis, we appreciate you. Yeah, and we should probably get to the intro as well, because we haven't done that yet. But guys, of course, this is Building the Broncos. We are here at 6 p.m. Mountain Time every Tuesday night. That way you guys can come talk football, hang out with Carl and myself. You guys can also hang out with us after the show's over, before the show's over, on Twitter. Following us, Carl is at Carl Dumler MHH, and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. And there goes Carl with his gallon challenge going on right there. Make sure you guys, we need some hashtag drink your water, Carl, going on in the chat. Make sure you're following us at BTB Football Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you guys are on Facebook, make sure you're joining us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And on YouTube, please subscribe, like, and share. So let's keep into it. Let's say hello to the chat. We got a bunch of people in here. We got Lori. I love Lori. Lori, shout out to Lori. Awesome person. Good to see you. Hey, Nick, I'm back again. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you, Lori. Hope you're doing well. Sorry that this Broncos team has been frustrating, but we've had some good years. Lori is in another Facebook group with like Travis Weber and us. That's a kind of a small group. So shouts out to her. Gary Leeds Palmer. Hey guys, is there anyone available to replace Vic? Carl, what do you think? Anybody available?
Well, I mean, Mike Munchak was the head coach at one point, and honestly, I think he gets a little bit of a bad rap. His Titans never had a quarterback, and he still had them pretty competitive most years. And so I think a lot of players would respect him. Wouldn't surprise me to see if Vic did get fired, that would be the guy that'd get the bump up. Got Pat Shurmur, of course. I know a lot of people would be like, oh my gosh, why'd you just say that name? But again, he's got head coach experience. You could see him getting the nod as well. I mean, nobody's coming in that's saving this season. It is kind of what it is. You might get a little bit of a bump if there is a new coach and some players maybe relax a little bit or just feel a little bit better about where things are at because they haven't liked Vic Fangio, whatever it may be. But just right now, this team, it's hard to see them being, like I said, anything but a 500 team.
Yeah, hard for them to be 500 in a 17-game season, but hey, maybe we can tie the Lions just like the Steelers did, and we can finish 8-1, right? That would be glorious. A lot of fun just for the lulz. But as far as replacing Vic, we kind of, in a smaller scale, but probably the same result, saw what would happen if you replace Vic with what happened with replacing Shurmur this week, right? It's pretty much the system is the system, the scheme is the scheme, the team is the team, and replacing Vic mid-season for somebody probably isn't going to do very much as far as pushing them up or pushing them down. If anything, the instability probably accelerates them to the basement. But if you're looking for real change and turnover, it's going to happen in the offseason. And I would say that's probably more likely at this point than unlikely, but we still got 7 games, and the Broncos are half a game out in the AFC West. So a lot of football left to be played. I'm going to choose to be optimistic there because the games have not been written just yet.
Yeah, for sure. But we got Miguel coming in here saying, sup, fellas, do you think this is Kyle's last year in San Fran? If so, can you see him in Denver? Well, depends, I guess, of who the next head coach would be. I don't see him being the next head coach. He'd be brought in as an offensive coordinator, not a head coach. Somebody's
going to hire him as a head coach. Some Kyle Shanahan?
Yeah.
With his scheme? There's no way. Somebody's going to hire. He's another guy who's been to a Super Bowl, and his scheme is instant offensive success. I understand that there's some issues there with the front office and the amount of power that he wants and where everything falls on there. Kyle Shanahan will get another head coaching gig. I have no doubt about that. It's not like he lost institutional control.
That's true. I just don't know if it'd be right off the bat. Maybe a year where he goes and proves, hey, my system still works. I'm doing great. Boom, right back at the head coaching spot. But you're right. I don't know how much I would want him to have much power when it comes to roster building and things like that. Like, just tell him, hey, you coach, that's it. And it's kind of like Mike Shanahan. When he was coach, he was great. Mike Shanahan, the GM, terrible.
Yeah.
And just, I never liked that dual role. There's been very few coaches that have ever made that work well. I mean, that's 2 full-time jobs, and we're talking like NFL full-time, which is during the season, 100 hours a week of work. Okay. And so there's just not enough hours to make both those jobs do well.
And also they're very much in contrast of each other, where the coach needs to win and get everything together today, for now. And the general manager needs to be thinking about holistically the franchise and the resources and how they're set up for years down the line. Right. So you need to have, I think, almost a, checks and balances, so to speak, with the front office and the coaches. And when you have overlap there, it can create some issues with you. I mean, you see it with John Gruden all the time, right? Just chasing the immediate, and it hasn't worked out for them.
For sure.
And
all right, we got Andrew Baker coming in here saying, what up, Nick, Carl, and my brethren? Was just listening to the Broncos for breakfast. Gonna have to finish it after this now. Hashtag MHH for life, with a little bit of muscle going on and some sunglasses. Appreciate that, Andrew, and appreciate the stars. And make sure you tune in for Broncos for breakfast with Nick and Scott. Those guys do a great job. Always enjoy listening to you guys there in the morning. Kind of gets me going, get my cup of coffee, tune into you guys, and it's just it's a perfect way to start the day. You guys do a good job, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrew. If that muscle there is reflective of anything, maybe you should make a call to Dove Valley, see if they could use it in the front seven, because they need some linebacker help. My God. Jeff Noyes coming in saying, first super chat. God bless you, Jeff. We love you. Just to say hi, man, Jeff, we appreciate the good vibes and positivity and support there. I know that, we're very much, it's a week-to-week league right now, and right now we're on the valley of coming off of an ugly loss. We'll be riding the high again probably after whipping the Chargers. I don't know. Who did this? That's the season. But either way, appreciate the positivity and appreciate you swinging by to say hello.
For sure. Thank you, Jeff. Always good to see the first time in. Tuning in for this show. Or I think I've seen you in the comments before, but for that first super chat, we really do appreciate that.
Totally. We got another one coming in. We got Travis with the stars. Good evening, Nick and Carl in Broncos country. As much as I want Vic gone, I don't see it happening until after the season, but for the life of me, I wish he could pull his head out of his rear end and play locker even ripping. Teddy has ran out of excuses and no one is believing Vic's lies but himself. Ooh, this is spicy. What do you think, Carl?
Well, I agree. At this point, most likely the season's lost. You might as well.
With a half game out.
I know.
It's the AFC West is bad, or not bad, but they're all stuck in the middle.
It's true. It's hard for me to see that there's going to be a great future moving forward in this season. Like I said, I think they can get to 8-9 or 9-8, but I don't think that's going to be good enough to make the playoffs at this point. They've lost a lot of tiebreakers against teams that they needed to beat. And so that's just kind of where they're at. Unfortunately, their best wins are against NFC teams. Well, those are the worst wins to have when it comes to end of season setup. But you're right.
To that point, 5 of your 6 divisional games are 5 of your 7 remaining games. So, what you want to accomplish this season is still directly in front of you, which is crazy considering how up and down this is. But there's no reason to totally back out yet, right? Yeah, and I think that's the main thing with sticking with Teddy here. Playing Drew Lock would be an admission that this season is over for Vic Fangio, for the coaching staff, for that locker room, for my understanding as well, right? Playing Drew Lock is okay, see ya. We'll see you next year. But you're 5-5 and a half game back. And I think that, we, myself included, very reactionary to the moment, to the week by week. But when you step back and look at the trend and where you sit, it's not a great spot. There's no doubt. It's not a great spot, but you're so far from out of it. You're right there in the thick of things.
I'd agree. And there is some promising things after the bye. You're maybe going to get Bradley Chubb back. You're going to get Garrett Bowles. You're going to get Messi on the other side. You're getting your offensive line back, which is huge. The tackles were terrible this last game. Calvin Anderson had his worst game as a Bronco, I would say. And that right side was just, oh my gosh, it was bad. I know a lot of people look at the passing chart of Teddy Bridgewater. Part of that is the offensive line that was one of their worst games pass blocking.
It was a perfect storm as well. Yeah. You're down 20 points in the first half after only 5 defensive possessions. That's terrible. That's efficiency metrics. Typically there are 3 more possessions per game on that half, and you're already down 20 or giving up 20. And also the Eagles, that played right in their hand. I don't know if it was a show with you or Luke, but what's the one thing that cannot happen in this game? Broncos cannot fall behind quickly, because then you're toast, because that's what the Eagles live. I don't want to use a soccer analogy here, and I thought of it this morning after Scott's and I's show, so I should have saved it for Scott. But the Eagles, what they want to do defensively is essentially the same as parking the bus defensively. We're playing 2 high shells. We're playing off coverage, and we'll give you the stuff underneath constantly. Stress it vertically. I dare you. And Teddy, with only it being a 1-possession game, I think the hamstrings of the offensive line made it look the spray chart look bad, and it was bad. You want him to push sometimes, but until it was a 1-possession game a lot of the time. So I get it. It looks bad in hindsight, and he's got to make some of those throws. 1 for 5 in the red zone, 1 for 11 on third down. That's not good enough. Period. Not good enough from your quarterback. Period. But I do think that there is context to that is important as to explaining the why it looked the way it did.
Yep.
So I'll hop off my bar stool here, or my soapbox here real quick.
We'll move on to Base Case here, coming with the $5 super chat. Really appreciate that, Base. Always good to see you in here. Do you think Peyton looks at Mike Zimmer if Minnesota lets him go? Maybe our next head coach is a lame duck coach with the new owner coming in anyways.
I think whatever head coach you bring in, there needs to be some overtures, and maybe that's contractually, to make sure that they are not seemingly a lame duck head coach, right? Not like a 1-year, one and done type of thing. So, and somebody like Mike Zimmer, he has some pull. He's been in the league long enough. He's not just going to take any position. So if Zimmer's let go, I think that's unlikely. I think that Vikings team is one that is due for some positive regression, given some of the close games they've lost this season. But if Zimmer is let go, that makes all the sense in the world. I know people roll their eyes because of the old defensive coach, right? And I am as well. I'm holding it back. But I think it does make some sense.
Yeah, I think you're going to see. Yeah, I think you're going to see somebody that's tied to George Payton in some way that he's worked with before, that he trusts, and he's worked with a lot of people. So I mean, that doesn't like limit your people that you're looking at. But I'm just saying, I think that's you usually go to what you know. And so, all right, we got Michaela coming back in again. Thank you, Michaela. Can I be the coach? I got Madden playing calling skills. Laugh out loud. Hey, put your name in the hat. You never know. I think there's times I question a little bit the NFL circle of coaches. Like you said, there's a lot of old school guys, and the NFL doesn't like to break out into new and innovative things. It takes them a while. And usually the person that's willing to be innovative is the person that finds themselves ahead of the curve. And
maybe like the Cardinals with Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury right now. I don't know. I just throwing it out there.
And,
but thank you so much, Michaela. Yeah. I vote. I know it's not a democracy, but I'm putting your name in. I'm going to write it in. Broncos head coach. Dennis coming in here with $5. Hear a lot of folks saying nothing will change till the new ownership is in place. Do you agree with that? What's the latest on that front? I don't think ownership will. I mean, things will change on the surface, but I think there's a lot of empowering and like how the money dynamics play out that won't be settled until new ownership is in place. So things may move on the front end or on the surface, but that's really what's boiling underneath. And as far as when does that happen, I think it's not going to be settled until this late spring.
Yep,
I thought March, the end of March, which unfortunately is after the coaching cycle was completed. Bad timing, really just bad timing. But it is what it is.
Right. So here's how it kind of works is new ownership has to be approved by all the other owners.
Yeah.
And they don't have their owners meeting until sometime in March. Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind, that kind of time scale. They can have an emergency meeting, but it's very rare. And they usually only do it for somebody that is already tied to the league somehow. Yeah. So like there is a guy that is a minority owner for Pittsburgh. I've heard some rumors that he's maybe looking to branch off and become a majority owner. So there's one that maybe could get approved early.
Can he bring Mike Tomlin with him? I'm just asking. That would be you're in. If that's the case, you are in. Thank you for the super chat, Dennis. We appreciate you. Hopefully the Broncos get the head coach right before the ownership situation is resolved, because that means I got it right this time around. Travis coming back in. I coached 4th through 6th graders for 3 years, and I'm pretty sure those kids had some better fundamentals than our offense inside the red zone. Stupid penalties, shooting themselves in the foot. Shake my head. Oh man, this is a real reaction here. The deep sigh and reflecting on it. I mean, really, and some of it is on. A lot of it, I will say, is Teddy Bridgewater, and people get upset about the checkdowns. It's on 3rd and long and in the red zone where Teddy's lack of arm talent really rears its ugly head. And it's because the windows are so much shorter. I mean, it's simple, geometry, right? The space is smaller. And so the windows are going to get smaller because the defense is going to be compressed with the goal line getting closer, the back of the end zone. And you have to have a little bit more arm talent and zip and trust in that arm talent and zip to fit it in those tight window throws. And the Broncos, luckily, do have a solid run game in the red zone. It's been improving these last few weeks, so that they can lead on that. But the 1 for 5 in the red zone, not good enough. And like you're talking about the penalties in the red zone, a freaking blocked field goal in the red zone. You're taking points off the board left and right. I dropped. You're in the red zone on a 4th down conversion, and then it's taken back the other way. Like time after time after time. Bad fundamentals. I mean, forget about death by inches. It's death by 10,000 leagues under the sea. I mean, going on here. So. It's not good. It's very upsetting. In the shop with Willie saying, please stop making excuses for Teddy. Be better. Teddy's got to be better. But we're trying to understand why what's happening is happening. I think that also something that is an important caveat here is that we need to be asking the same question. Who is the best quarterback for the Broncos right now? They seem to think it's Teddy Bridgewater, which to me means that Vic Fangio is betting on himself and the defense more than anything, because Teddy Ball works to an extent. If you have, top 10, top 5 defense where you're not having to play catch up immediately, 10 points in 2 drives, bleep, we're done. It works if the defense is playing well. Does not work if your defense is bad and you need the quarterback to drop back 40 times and throw, YOLO balls to create something. That's not how it's going to work.
Yeah. If I'm needing 30 points in a game and Teddy Bridgewater is not my quarterback, I would rather go Drew Lock in that situation. Because like I said, he can have some magical moments and he's had some games that were magical in that way. But if you want consistent quarterback play, Teddy is kind of your guy. And like I said, who else is walking in here that's going to right the ship? I know a lot of people want to see Drew Lock, and that's fine. I mean, I understand, and I'm with you. I don't mind if the Broncos make that decision. Hey, let's just try Drew Lock. Let's see if he can give us a spark or something like that. But right now, we've talked about it all season. We've never thought the long-term solution at quarterback is on this roster. And they're going to have to figure something out in 2022. Hopefully they figure out their guy, because otherwise it's going to be a long move forward for the Broncos, because like I said, this division, 3 great quarterbacks that are not going anywhere anytime soon. Maybe the Raiders get stupid and decide, hey, we can do better than Derek Carr. They can't. It'd be
I'd
tough
love to see them try.
I really would too. I would too. And then I'd love to see them come to the Broncos and then prove them wrong for being really, really stupid. But anyway, that's like I said, it's just going to be tough. And the Broncos are going to have to make some aggressive moves, and hopefully they work out at the quarterback position. All right, we got Lawrence coming in here with some stars saying, if we would have played like this during the Cowboys game, right after Vaughn left, would we be calling for Peyton's head? We literally are 2 games departed from losing our best player.
I don't know if Vaughn is our best player. First off the bat, he's 31 years old. He's been pretty good, but not, consistent game record like he was. And I think that Dallas Cowboys game is probably an aberration, so to speak. And honestly, after that Cowboys game, it's like, whoa, did we maybe hit the sell button too soon? Moving on from Von Miller, given, oh my God, man, speaking of edge position, Malik Reed, buddy. Oh my God, Lane. Yeah, he's going to have like a Lane Johnson tattooed on him or something after that. That was rough. But as far as calling for Peyton's head, I think it makes sense now. He believed this team who they showed to be the first few weeks of the season, first 8 games, I guess, and moved on from Vaughn and got a 2nd and 3rd round pick because speaks to not really loving Teddy or Drew Lock, and giving yourself the actual means to be a buyer in the quarterback market this season. So I think it's a good long-term move. Emotionally, it sucks to move on from Von Miller. I will say, though, I was very conflicted yesterday seeing George Kittle spike Von Miller into the ground, because I love both those guys a lot. But it's I don't think anybody should be calling for Peyton's head because of that move, regardless of whatever the results are on the field.
I think that George Kittle play showed exactly who is the best tight end in football, because remember Von Miller slamming Kelsey to the ground? Mm-hmm. I think that just proved which one's a better tight end. Just throwing that out there. But obviously one of them's got to stay a little bit healthier to make sure that he stays the top dog. But all right, Andrew coming back in with some more stars saying the only hope left is the craziness of the NFL games and officiating this season, and maybe beat the Chiefs at least like we did Dallas. Man. This is the weirdest year for football. I mean, you got some games that are just complete blowouts. You got the Jaguars beating the Bills 9-6. I don't know. That was the game that really, of all the games that I've seen this year, that one I still don't
Ravens Dolphins.
Oh, yep. That's another good one. Yeah. I mean, at least Dolphins were a winning team last year.
Yeah, they look bad this year, though, man. They look pretty darn bad.
They have. Yeah, but at least there's something there compared to Jaguars, worst team in football. Yeah. Not looking great most of this year, and then they go beat the Bills, who most people thought was top team in the AFC. So
just a bunch of mediocrity in the AFC this year. Right? It's who gets hot. Honestly, if you get in the AFC and you make it to the playoffs, I say this every year, if you get in, you give yourself a chance. And after there, let the chips fall where they might, a single elimination game. That's never been more true than it is this season in the AFC. I do expect the cream to rise to the crop with great quarterbacks. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, if anybody, any defensive coordinator, I'm talking to you, Gus Bradley, quit with a single high safety against the Chiefs. They kill cover 3 and cover 1. 2 deep shell. What are we doing? Everybody. Oh, Patrick Mahomes is back. No. I mean, yes, but no. It's the single high safety. He kills them. Anyway, Muhammad Badri coming in. Braun and St. Carl in the house. Love you guys. Love you, Mo. Hope you're doing well. Hope Malik is doing very well too. Love the pick. Always love to see you stop by and see his cute face on the screen there. You're cute. Sure. Your face is cute too, I guess, Muhammad. Whatever. Travis coming in saying, I don't mean to sound salty. I get we are still in the middle of it and the division. The playoffs are still somewhat reachable, but Teddy pulling a Cam is why I say bench him. Other than that, he has been serviceable. Travis, I mean, the Teddy stuff with him not going for the ball upset me, and I appreciate him coming out after the fact saying, I should have done that. But to me, talk is cheap, and he's going to be given a chance to make me forget that on the field. Whatever him coming out afterwards, he's going to have to handle, his face to his teammates in that one. And I can't speak for them. I can't speak for him or the coaches or whatever. Sounds like he fell on that sword. But he's going to have to play better on the field for me to make me forget about what we saw on Sunday, which was probably one of the most upsetting things I've seen in a while. And I get it. The injuries, he's maybe not thinking in that moment, but like, come on, one possession game. Come on.
Yeah. You got to go make that play. At least try, at least show some effort. Like you said. Yeah. That's probably the biggest part is just the lack of effort. Even if you missed the tackle, at least you tried. You didn't move out of the way and be like, oh, here you go ahead. And that is very upsetting. And it's why, if they did make the switch to Drew Lock, I don't think they would completely lose the locker room on some of that. But
I don't think they would, because I don't think they trust Drew Lock's judgment. And that goes beyond last season's stuff with the sick bug. So I'll leave it at that. You guys can read between the lines there. In the shop with Will. Going on. Yeah. In today's game, you're not getting anywhere unless you can put up 30. I said it week 1 to 3. We're a joke of a team currently, and it's embarrassing. Broncos aren't a joke. They're 5-5. They're not good, but what's a joke is the Lions, going to overtime and can't win against a team that the Pittsburgh Steelers tried to lose that game multiple times against Mason Rudolph, who, man, I hear a wet fart noise every time he throws the ball. It's horrible. He's terrible. Or the Texans. That's a joke of a team. I mean, I get that the expectations are higher in Denver, but this is just a garden variety mediocre to, if I was grading them, they'd be a C-. That's what I'd probably put them at overall. It's not great, but yeah.
And I would say to make it in the NFL, it's actually around 25 points a game is what you need to be averaging on offense. If you can do that, usually you're right in the thick of things. 30 points. I mean, those are the top offenses. You're talking top 5 teams. Yes, they can put up 30 points a game, no problem. But until you get a great quarterback, it's going to be hard to be consistently scoring those kind of points. Look at all the top teams. They have a great quarterback that can put up lots of points. Yep. It changes everything when you have that. And like we keep saying, Broncos don't have it. And it's why we were so upset this offseason with the draft. You had some options and they didn't go for it.
And then that scab.
I know, but then Matthew Stafford as well. And I know the trade got ridiculous there for what the Lions gave up I guess the Rams gave up to get Matthew Stafford, but it just kind of shows, they realize that's what you need. You want to be a Super Bowl contender, you need that guy. And so hopefully we can see what George Paton does this offseason. I think he wanted a year to kind of settle in. You don't want to there was a lot of risk for him year 1, right off the bat, boom, let's go get our franchise guy. Yeah. That would have been a lot to ask of him. But if this year he continues down the same path of trading for mediocre quarterbacks or bringing in free agent quarterbacks that have been at best average in their career or mid-round pick in the draft, those kind of things, I'm going to have some issues with what he's doing. But at the same time, maybe he's playing the long game and saying, we want to get ownership figured out before we get the quarterback figured out. And which is going to be frustrating because then we got to have patience in the whole situation. And it's hard to be patient when it's a win now league. We want to, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm scared to death that they're going to go in on quarterback on a cycle where they're like trying to convince themselves to fall in love with a guy, like that kind of situation. And then like, oh, we got to give him 4 years with the perfect situation if we're going to understand who he is. I don't give a hoot if it's, 3 weeks. You should go back in there in the draft again and be looking to add talent at the most important position. and you don't want to, blow your entire draft load on one single guy in this class either. So it's a tough situation. I get why people are frustrated, because the idea of Drew Lock being this toolsy young quarterback, who's got a great smile, he's a good looking kid. I get it. That's how I picture a quarterback to look, the all-American kind of thing. But, sometimes doesn't work out that way.
Yep.
We got Paul coming in saying we don't want an O head coach. We don't want O head coach, good OC, good hired away, constant scheme changes. Anyways, enjoy listening to my friends. No effort, Teddy. Not sure what you're getting at there at the first bit, Paul. I love you. Thank you for the comment.
I think he's talking about, wouldn't you want an offensive head coach? Because obviously then they're a good OC. You keep the same scheme. So a quarterback's not having to learn a new scheme all the time, kind of thing. And I mean, in a perfect world, yes. Here's the problem. Finding that guy it's unique. There's been a lot of offensive minded guys that have been hired. Think about when the Broncos hired Josh McDaniels. I mean, everybody was pumped up about that, of this is the offensive guru of the NFL. And then, I mean, he destroyed this franchise for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So obviously you don't want to go that kind of direction, but then there's other times where it works out, where you get an offensive guy and things start clicking and they get their quarterback and the rest is history, kind of thing. The best coach in football, Bill Belichick, he's a defensive minded guy. Yeah. Now, given he's been very fortunate, he's had offensive coordinator, he's had Tom Brady, and Josh McDaniels has been there for a long time to be a consistent guy for them. So I think if you can get that guy, then you go for it. But if you don't force it. You don't sit there and say, we're going to take the lesser guy that we don't think is going to do as good, but he's offensive minded. And so, like I said, Todd Bowles is really at the top of my list of guys that I love, that I think can be just what the Broncos need. A player's coach that can really unify people, that has a good scheme, has worked with a lot of different coaches and different types of styles, has worked with different kind of quarterbacks. There's just a lot of things to like about Todd Bowles, and he's a defensive guy. So I think there's some options out there, and hopefully the Broncos can do well of casting that net wide and, figure out a guy that could be here long-term
and get a little bit of luck. Right. That's probably the biggest factor. But fortune favors the bold, right? Travis coming in saying, tired of band-aid quarterbacks. It's time to find our answers at the position. I also realize they're hard to find, but other teams in our division have theirs. Yeah, it's frustrating to see other teams have top 10, 12 quarterbacks, and the Broncos are, the fact that while the reality is Teddy's the best quarterback this team has had since 2014, that's more about the sample size, who you're comparing him against, than it is Teddy Bridgewater. The unfortunate reality we're at. But you're not going to find the guy if you're too afraid to take a shot. Also, at the same time, at some point, you need to be like, you know what? This is my guy. I believe in him. We're going to take a shot. And hopefully they get it right. Right. And we see it too. I mean, all these people who are very smart football people, talking this last offseason, oh man, Zach Wilson is incredible, blah, blah, blah. He's looked like the worst quarterback of the bunch so far. Mac Jones, and I was there's reasons not to believe in him totally as a first round pick, but he's playing great so far. So at some point, you have to understand that there is some level of crapshoot to it as well. And you need to take a shot.
Yeah. And I would say, like I said, you got to be aggressive. I know a lot of people have this kind of mindset of trading tons of draft capital is going to destroy a roster. But like Eagles traded up for Carson Wentz. What happened? They go and win a Super Bowl. Even after he gets hurt, even after the guy they traded up for, you can still build a roster even without having those top draft picks. You trade for Russell Wilson. Well, he makes up for all those draft picks of those players that you would have gotten. He more than makes up for it. I mean, the odds of that working out. I mean, think about when the Broncos traded Jay Cutler. Does anybody remember the players the Broncos got in that situation? No Sean Moreno, who did help, and Robert Ayers. And I think there was that tight end. I can't remember his name. That was a complete
Robert Quinn.
Yes. And that's what they got in that trade. And Kyle Orton, I should say.
Hey, now that's the pride of Purdue right there. Actually, that'd probably be Drew Brees, but gotta love Kyle Orton's neckbeard. Good times. Man, I feel like we're stuck in Kyle Orton versus Drew Lock all over, or excuse me, Tim Tebow all over again. In the shop with Willie saying we beat 4 of the worst teams in the league. Dallas was a fluke. I do think that the New York Giants have been playing some better football recently. I would not say they're one of the 4 worst teams in the league. The Broncos have not played the Houston Texans. The Broncos have not played the Lions yet. There are some bad teams out there. They have not played the Dolphins, who beat the Ravens. So there are plenty of very bad teams out there. The Broncos have beat 3 of them for sure. We'll be real. But you would also categorize as the Jags one of those teams, and like you said, they lost to the Bills. They beat the Bills 9-6. So you got to beat those teams. And this year, that I would say there's no guarantees when it comes to wins or losses.
For sure.
So, at least our guys haven't been shut out yet, like Russell Wilson did against the Packers this week. I don't know. So it's woof. Also, they should sell Russell Wilson. I will give up a conditional 7th round pick to bring him in here. So question here, the main topic at hand, since it looks like we're caught up on our supers, Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater, here we go again, arguing guys who probably aren't going to be the dude long-term, but it's where we are in the moment. What does it take for Vic Fangio to make the decision to pull Teddy Bridgewater outside of injury, to pull Teddy Bridgewater and play Drew Lock?
I think it's George Payton stepping in and saying, this is what's going to happen. Either you start Lock or you're gone. I think that's about the only way it happens right now. Fangio has reached that point. He knows he's in a sinking ship. And he's decided, I'm going to go down the way I want to go down. I always think of Titanic when the band started playing there on the side. And, they know, hey, we're not going to make it. Let's just play a song and kind of let's do it.
It was a string quartet. It was a string quartet. Let's get it right in here. Let's have some respect to the orchestra. No.
But, that's kind of where I'm at with. I think he's made his decision. This is my guy. And I tied myself to him for better, for worse. And it's just where it is. So like I said, I think short of George Payton stepping in saying, this is what you got to do, I see Teddy Bridgewater probably finishing out the season.
I think if the Broncos go out there and first shout out to Mr. Stew Meat with the $4.99 super. Thank you very much, Mr. Stew Meat. Your name always makes me laugh. And we appreciate you stopping by today. I do agree with you on that. As far as George Payton stepping in, do you wonder though, if that comes around, this is a team that's probably going to be looking for a head coach in the offseason. And do you want to be a general manager looking to fill a head coaching vacancy when you are coming in and telling the coaches who plays and doesn't, deciding coaching decisions? Do you want that reputation as a general manager? Is that something that would concern you?
I mean, it would. I think coaches look at that kind of thing. Like I said, I think George Payton is such a huge seller of why somebody would want to come to the Broncos, or selling point, I guess I should say. Yeah. And I don't think he would want to ruin that. And like I said, I think he really is just going to probably say, hey, you made this decision, Fangio. Hey, I'm going to let you, because I mean, it's actually kind of a nice little thing for Payton, because he's like, hey, I let my coach do his thing. And like I said, I do think that would factor into it. So I think we're kind of at that impasse where the odds of seeing Locke this year are pretty slim.
Yeah, I think that's probably possible. I will say that you have the bye week coming up. If the Broncos would have lost that Dallas game, you're sitting there at 4-6. Even though that would put you a game and a half out, you'd probably be out at that point. 5-5, it's still there in front of you. And I know that's a hard sell considering that we're so, week by week, as many fans are. But I think if the Broncos come out and not only lose these next 2 games, but look bad offensively doing so, then I think that you will see Drew Lock for the final 5-game stretch of the year. You give him that Detroit Lions game, talk about a softball coming up where you can really, what are the Lions doing on defense? It's just, they're so freaking bad. I appreciate the intensity they play with right now. Going to bite some kneecaps off with Dan Campbell, but that's just a terrible roster. So that's a softball. And then you'd have Drew not having to come in and play this massively intense energy game that is this Chargers one, followed by going on the road at KC. You'd have both of those behind. And then you'd have a road game in Las Vegas, which might be another Denver home game, considering how many Denver fans have tickets to that one, because Las Vegas is a destination place, right? So even if the Broncos are bad, Broncos fans, they bought the tickets, the flights a while ago, the hotel. They're going to go have fun in Vegas. Same with Los Angeles Chargers. You got the Lions then, and some home games as well. So I think that's probably when it makes sense, but you have to see them lose. You have to see them lose these next 2 games. So if you're pulling for Drew Lock more so than pulling for the Broncos, or you think that getting to Drew Lock is the best thing for the Broncos long term, I guess you should probably pull for the Broncos to lose the next 2 games. That's just where I see it.
All right, we got Travis coming in here saying, "Agree, Carl." That's right. More or less, I don't want to see Teddy injured, but Locke will not see the field at all. We probably would see Rippon before Locke. I'll just tell you this. There are some things behind the scenes that have just really made a huge divide between Locke and the coaching staff. And whether he's earned that or not, that's up for other people to decide. But there are reasons. There's some struggles there. Yeah.
Yep. That's tough to say, but we'll see. I mean, again, if you can get Drew Lock in here in the final 5 games of the year of the season, you're sitting there at 5-7. You should be able to get at least a decent sample size against a variety of teams that are different. Ones that aren't also amazing defensive line teams. So that should help Drew Lock because he was terrible last year under pressure, worse in the league last year under pressure. So that should help him a bit. But that should at least give you a sample size going into next year. Maybe that's enough to get a day 3 pick back for him if you're looking to trade him off. If a new coaching staff doesn't want him, maybe that's enough where you're like, okay, God, everyone, to cover your ears here if this is going to upset you. But, Drew Lock versus Andy Dalton versus first round rookie draft pick, good luck. 3 dogs, 1 bone kind of thing. Let's go take it. Not what anybody wants. If you have that many guys, then you probably don't have any, but I think that's a possibility. So, again, Broncos 5-5. Announcing Teddy, I think, is more so betting that Fangio thinks he can get the defense corrected over these last few games, because Broncos efficiency wise, they were right in it, despite the defense giving up more points per possession than the worst team in the NFL this season in this Eagles game. So I think he bets that he can get better with the defense. And with that, the offense should be good enough to win the type of football game that Vic Fangio envisions them winning this year. But the formula so far, it's been crap. It doesn't work if your defense is bottom 10 DVOA. You can't. You can't rely on Teddy to play hero ball, dropping back with 2 backup tackles and throwing it beyond the sticks, because that's not who he is. So guess what happens? You look bad and you lose.
Yep. You lose bad. I think they said the Broncos have had, more home double-digit losses, like double-digit point losses in the Fangio era than like the last 15 years combined. I think there's been like 7 games where they've lost by 10 or more points kind of thing. So I mean, it's been bad. And I've said earlier this year, part of Fangio's problem is his ego. The man thinks he knows more about football than anyone else, and he's going to do things his way. And sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's just downright terrible, and it just keeps digging your grave further and further down. But all right, we got Inky coming in here saying, why didn't Peyton trade Drew knowing Vic wasn't going to play him? Backup quarterbacks are a premium. Well, you just said it right there. Backup quarterbacks are a premium. And what you would get in a trade, probably not worth as much as what he is just value-wise keeping on the roster, just in case an injury does happen.
Yep. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's probably the reality. Unless Drew Lock comes out and says, trade me or else kind of thing. He's worth more on the team as a potential lottery ticket with athleticism and tools, and hoping that it clicks for him versus what would you get for him? A 7th round pick, a 6th round pick kind of thing right now. So it's unfortunate. This one made me laugh. DBA. Oh no, we are the Bears. You know what? If it walks like a duck, God, man, it's frustrating. Well, Carl, let's talk a little bit positives here before we get on out of here. This team, did you get any positives out of this Eagles-Broncos game since this is your first time getting a chance to talk about it? Putting you on the spot here. I know there were positives in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you still love Devonte Williams is doing a great thing.
Yep.
Still making big plays for the Broncos. So you feel good about the running game moving forward for the Broncos.
Yep.
And it was still a positive game for the running game, other than the fumble. Really, they were still moving the ball well. They just fell behind early and had to abandon the run a lot quicker than they ever wanted to, of course. So, I mean, that kind of stinks. It was good to see Noah Fant, I thought, showed better. I think that week off actually kind of helped him a little bit. He made a few plays for the Broncos. and looked a little bit faster. I do think he has been dealing with an injury this year. And I think it's probably going to come out at the end of the year. Hey, he did this. He tweaked this in his knee or something like that. A lot of people are going to go, oh, yeah, okay, I can see that. And I know also he's got some off the field things that are going on with family. So I don't think you fully give up on him. I know a lot of people are like, trade Fant, get him out of here. Okwebanam is the better tight end. I don't think you're quite at that point, especially new coaching staff. Maybe they find a better way to use him, maybe get more out of the guy. And like I said, just a bad year for him all around. But I think, like I said, I think he had one of his better games, in my opinion. I know he didn't put up huge stats, but just a few things I saw of what he was doing to get open. And I definitely liked, and I thought he did a little bit better as a blocker in the opportunities that he was given compared to games before. So that was nice to see. Defensively, Draymond Jones was getting into the backfield, made a few plays for the Broncos. Still looks like he could be a real star in the making for him on defense. Beyond that, not a whole lot.
Patrick Surtain was maybe not even supposed to be out there because of the injury. I thought he played admirably. Devonta Smith had him on one, but he had perfect coverage on that one. So I think Patrick Surtain continues to show out. He's the best cornerback this team has, far and away. I would say also Justin Simmons, another pick. He's been really good the last 5-6 games, being like the corner safety that this team wants him to be. And I really think that the interior offensive line specifically is starting to gel. It's starting to come together, which I was very tough on them at the beginning of the season. I was especially tough on Dalton Reisner, but I think he has been, he might have played his best 2 games of the season the last 2 weeks. He's been playing so much better. Lloyd Cushenberry, it seems like something may have clicked for him as well. I don't think he's going to be amazing, but he's not like this absolute sieve that is killing and sinking your entire offensive line. I think he's actually been playing a little bit better. And then Quinn Miners, up and down to the pass games, the pass reps, his run blocking though is like, it really is, it can help define a unit and what this team wants to be going forward. I would love to see them saying, look, we got this guy. They're absolutely blasting open holes in the run game. Why don't we buy into that? And why don't that be, having an identity? Why don't we be a smart, tough football team that's pushing the trenches? And you could build on that with Miners. So I've really have been impressed with the interior offensive line specifically these last few weeks. Cameron Fleming, not a great game for the tackle position, but like, is there a single team out there that when you get to your 4th offensive tackle, you're going to be looking good?
No.
Many teams can't even field 2 tackles.
Yeah.
Let alone you get down to your 4th. So
I was going to say the Broncos over the last 3 years have had one. Okay. Bowles was good last year, but they haven't had a good right tackle for a long time. And Bowles was good. Ryan Harris. Okay. That was the last good tackle the Broncos have had at that position. And then, like I said, Garrett Bowles until last year wasn't looking that great. Yeah. So the Broncos have had trouble fielding one.
Yeah.
And so, I was excited from what I saw in the Cowboys game because, Calvin Anderson played a great game, honestly. Mm-hmm. It was really impressive. And Fleming didn't completely look terrible. And then both of them just got destroyed in this game. It was tough to watch.
And again, this comes back to the point where this Broncos team, both sides of the ball, I feel like play like they are the complement to the other side of the ball, right? Like the Broncos offense is not explosive or dynamic enough, especially in the pass game. We know that with Teddy Bridgewater, he's just not that dynamic of a quarterback where you can't be that great on offense every single game. The defense with the off coverage, with the lack of pressure, with the way they play, the bend don't break, is also very complimentary. And we saw it with the Eagles, right? Like it can take the air out of a ball quickly because it's really hard to get explosive plays when everything is in front of you every single play and you're playing 2 high shells. Neither of those sides of the ball are forcing opposing teams to really have to adjust. Right. Yep. And I think that's a big issue. And we saw it in that Cowboys game where the defense actually was who we thought they would be this season. And the offense looked fantastic because they were able to go forward. They were able to lean on the ground game. There was way more rushing attempts to be had because you're controlling the game. That's not going to be the case every time, but they just have not been able to get to that zone this season. And it's tank the whole thing. And when it doesn't work, when your defense is not dictating, you're giving up points immediately out of the bat. I think they have to have given up some of the most points in the first half of any team in football this season. They've been so bad in the first half, especially in their losses. which goes directly into what they want to do offensively as well, and who Teddy is as a quarterback. Right. He's not the franchise answer. He's not a franchise quarterback. He's definitely not an elite quarterback. But with the pieces around him, with the offensive line, with the run game, it can win football games. It's just the formula is way off right now because not getting it done on both sides.
For sure. All right. Well, we got Andrew coming in here saying, great show. Love y'all. We need a Nick, Carl, and Scott show. Hashtag that triple huddle. I like that name. That triple huddle.
I like it a lot too. I see Scott laughing in the background. I'm not sure about that. Scott's I have the power to just like click him in at any second, so I'm not going to do that to him. Put your clothes on, Scott. Pookie, in my opinion, has earned running back 1 and would like to see him get rewarded when he has been the workhorse and let him score some touchdowns. Yeah, I bet you. I hope Alberto Cuebanam gave him a nice apology after that one. Was it the chop block that took Pookie's touchdown off the board? And then
block in the back, I think.
There's a block in the back? Okay.
Yeah.
Woof. God, so rough. Did the Broncos end up, was that the same drive where they ended up having the field goal blocked then?
I think so.
Jesus. I'm sorry to say the name in vain, Carl. Please forgive me, but oh my God. This is what talk about death by inches, right? You want to have, I was listening to, I don't know if you saw the Texas interview where they asked Sarkisian, is that his name? The new head coach of Texas. There was some really uncomfortable question where the guy was asking him this really terrible, just like, shut up, dude. Terrible question. And it made me, I had to then go back to Bill Belichick's all-time highlights of his press conferences. And one that really stuck with me is like, oh, what team do you want to be? He's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. What do you mean what team we want to be? We want to be a winning football team that's tough and smart. So I don't even know how to answer your question. And it's really that simple, right? It really is that simple. The players we have dictate what your identity is. But if you're a good, smart, tough football team, you can win football games. And right now this team is not tough. They're not smart. And they're definitely not a winning football team. So all that together, here we are.
Yep. But like I said, there are diamonds in the rough, like Pookie, who is playing great football and looking like a star in the making. One of the few running backs that you can sit there and say really does well to create beyond what the play is there. Like we've talked about it before on this show. Most running backs, they depend on great offensive line to be productive. Mm-hmm. Devonte Williams is one of those few players that the offensive line can fail and he can still turn it into a positive play. Now, he'd be much better if the offensive line was better. Mm-hmm. And I hope they can fix that and work on some things and maybe find a road grader of a right tackle. Can you imagine Miners in a road grader at that right tackle spot and just say, Pookie, you're going to run behind them. Let's go see. Talking about Scott in the background with no shirt. Yeah.
But that'd be amazing.
Yeah. But all right, we got Mark coming in saying, great show. Really appreciate that. And like I said, I know, guys, this is a tough time. We want a winning we're used to a winning franchise. Yeah. It's been, unfortunately, we got a little spoiled. Yeah. The Broncos hadn't had 2 losing seasons in a row for since the 70s until this stretch here that we've had for the Broncos. And so it's tough to watch. And, just to see them make some of the same mistakes over and over again is tough to see them do. They're not learning from their mistakes. And so hopefully, like I said, I do like George Payton. I think he's done a lot of good things. And I think he can do some good things moving forward for coaching staff. I'm still interested to see what he does at the quarterback position because Minnesota never really completely figured it out. I mean, Kirk Cousins is good. I think he gets a bad rep at times because of some of the crazy things he does. And the team isn't always successful. Yeah. But he's a great showing of quarterback play doesn't always mean a team is successful. He could be a top 10 quarterback and the team still look bad. Kind of like Deshaun Watson last year. He played like a top 5 quarterback. Well, the Texans were terrible. Yep. And so it just shows you got to have a little bit more. I mean, quarterback makes the biggest difference. You still need more than that. Yep.
Absolutely. Travis coming in saying, great show, fellas. Hoping Wisconsin gets beat again. Amen to that. Although they have a 17-year-old running back who's an absolute unit. So we'll see about that. I think Wisconsin's going to earn the right to get spanked by Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, but we'll see. Mark coming in again with stars. Thank you so much, Mark, with the mic drop there. Appreciate that. We got Billy Ray Valentine. Man, what a name. Man, that's talk about getting hot in here. Fangio is the equivalent to a pot of cold hot dog water. You know what? Don't yuck my yums, Billy. That might be good to somebody out there. Did you ever read The Jungle, Carl?
The what?
The Jungle. classic book, the American literature? Okay, well,
I did not.
Don't if you like hot dogs, don't ever read The Jungle. That'll ruin it for you.
Okay.
But Trading Places, Billy Ray Valentine. That's where the name comes from. It's Trading Places, classic Christmas flick. And I want to get to this one here from Donald real quick, saying, so do you two believe that the other 52 will be willing to forgive our team leader, our quarterback, for quitting on them? Do you also believe that they'll have faith moving forward with Teddy won't quit again? If there was an issue with that going on, I think you would find out pretty quickly whenever the Broncos play the Chargers, because there will be, if they were, really pissed about it, there might be something where somebody comes through, or there would be something coming out there. From my understanding, Teddy went through and had to talk with each positional group individually with them, and he's putting in the work after making a mistake. Again, I'm not going to forgive him until he plays better, right? If he's going to play, the last thing he put on tape was not unforgivable, but very hard to forgive for me. So he's going to have to play better and win some football games before I'm thinking about that. But as far as the other 52, I think that if there was issues there, we would know about it, and it would be probably obvious on the field as well.
Yeah.
Travis coming in. Do you think Tyler Goodson will make it in the NFL? He's a quick running back. I feel like the NFL is going away from the very small, faster running backs and leaning more towards the 6'2", 230-pound guys, because what they can do to dictate box numbers and get you to rotate from too high to single high. And we're seeing it with the Patriots right now with Stevenson, Rahandre Stevenson from Oklahoma. Name is escaping me right now. That said, the Kyle Shanahan wide zone stretch is going to be in vogue for a while. And Tyler Goodson will find himself on a team there like that and have a role for a bit. So yeah, that's the league right now, in my opinion, what they're doing with the running backs.
Yeah, it's always fun to look back at all the different trends that have happened in the NFL and like which teams were at the top of it, which teams were at the back end of it, and just kind of see how those franchises did. And like I said, just go from, recently it had been all those speed backs. Everybody wanted speed. Everybody wanted to have the big playability. And now, like I said, they're getting to some of the bigger bruiser guys. Hey, you want to? We can spread you out, and if you want to spread out, we'll just run it straight up the middle. You want to stack the box? We'll go over the top, and it is. It's kind of neat to see how that's going. But
yeah, it's really. We always talk about pressure with 4, right? That's another one. Being able to stop the run with 6. That's another one that I think we need to talk a little bit more about. Just going forward, because be able to stop the run with 6 and to be able to keep the 2 safeties deep. That's how you beat Patrick Mahomes. I mean, really, there it is. Travis coming in again. Travis, thank you so much. Lori was in here earlier. You guys have to say hi after this in that in our little group there. Great show tonight, guys. Enjoy all the podcasts. I'm off tomorrow and Thursday, hoping to catch Broncos for breakfast. We'll see you tomorrow for the Falcons show, and we'll see you Thursday for Broncos for breakfast. Have a good night, Broncos country. Thank you, Nick and Carl. Thank you, Travis.
Yeah, for sure. You've been a star all night, and really appreciate it. Great questions all night from everybody. And I thank you guys. I know, like I said, it's been a tough time, but your guys' questions have been very relevant and on point, and not just completely, hey, we got to throw everything away. And so that's good to see. And it just, I was a little nervous going into the show. I'll be honest, just because we're all emotional about this, and it's not always an easy time when we see our team, especially just look like they quit at times.
Get embarrassed.
Yep.
Get embarrassed, and we feel that embarrassment, right? Like we take a lot of pride, a lot of time, and I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody how to fan unless you're telling other people how to fan. That's the only way how to be a bad fan is to be a gatekeeper. But maybe don't at those guys on Twitter too, right? They're dealing with enough right now. But other than that, you can be a fan however you want. I do appreciate the chat when it's respectful, and guess what? We all want the same thing. We want this Broncos team to return back to relevance, even if we think we have better routes than other people to get there. We do want the same thing, and I think that's an important to find that commonality when we go forward, and to know that this is a nice distraction from every day. And the moment it stops becoming enjoyable is the question that maybe you need to ask what you're doing with your time. And I'm still having a heck of a lot of fun with Carl and all you guys and Scott in the background. Win, lose. I mean, I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. I love football. I love this team, and we'll keep looking whatever direction we can for that quarterback, right? Gotta find a darn quarterback.
Yeah. So we'll continue that conversation until we find one, and we'll let you guys know what our thoughts are as the season progresses, of course. And we'll talk about the draft coming up and relatively soon. The season's not lost, like you said, 5-5, half a game back in the division. All is not lost.
Amen.
Maybe this 2 weeks off, some guys go do some soul searching. Hopefully don't go to Vegas.
Oh God.
Yeah. And, but maybe that's what happens. And some guys come back and say, hey, let's right this ship. We're right in this. We'll see what happens. But in the shop with Willie saying, love you fellas, Nick, you're just wrong. Ought to be used to it by now. Always appreciate the comments in the shop with Willie. Always keep us on our toes for sure, especially Nick.
Yeah, I think sometimes I think that him and Eric are brothers or something, evil twins of each other, because that was an Eric comment I've ever saw one. Also, shout out to Willie. He said he's dealing with the sick little bug right now. So hope you feel better, Willie. That's no fun, and we're thinking about you guys. Smash that like button for the shows, but we're going to get on out of here. Just wanted to highlight Clayton because he's always super supportive of us. Thanks for joining us, Clayton. Make sure you guys are following Carl and myself on Twitter. Carl is at Carl Dumler, MHH, and I am at Nick Kendell, MHH. Also, make sure you're following us at BTB Football Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you guys are on Facebook, make sure you're joining us, if you haven't already, at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Become a supporter. Also at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. If you're joining us on YouTube today, please subscribe, like, and share. And to all our podcast people listening after the fact or everything like that, please make sure you leave a comment in the iTunes section. That would be awesome. I see there's a lot of comments about Chad and Zach in there. And if you guys know me at all, it needs to be about me. Right, I'm a classic narcissist over here, so I need to see some Nick Kendell, Carl Dumler, Scott Kennedy in the iTunes comments as well, just so that way we have a little bit to boast our chest at with Zach and Chad. So appreciate you guys. Stay safe. Enjoy the bye week. We're going to keep coming at you live here. Be kind. Also, I think we need to push a little more kindness. And have a great night. Go Broncos.
You've been listening to Building the Broncos. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.